Today we're doing a retrospective review of Hellbound, Hellraiser 2. They'll tear your soul apart again.
I have such sights to show you.
The gang of Cenobites is back again. Kirsty's in an institute looking for answers of what the hell she just went through. But there's a doctor who's looking to find his way into the fourth dimension. And they summon the Cenobites, and they are back. Last time hell came to them, and this time they went to hell. Kind of. More like a labyrinth with a weird rock puzzle god. This is a recommendation from Patreon from Mr. Awesome, who also recommended the first movie that we've already reviewed. This is a retrospective movie review. We will be talking full spoilers, but we'll do this as a proper normal review, starting with our likes. I like that this movie was a lot more fast-paced than the original. Although I love the original, this one just felt more upbeat because so much is going on.
And they're just picking up where they left off too. Now we're diving more into the whole realm of hell. Now we're okay, we're learning how Cenobites are made, which I really enjoyed the lore behind this.
Yeah, seeing Pinhead get pins in his head, or nails. But it was pretty interesting to see the creation of them and the de-evolution of them to some degree, because we see them as their human selves at the end. So that was cool. You're okay, we're kind of starting to understand more of the backstory. We get to see a new Cenobite, which was kind of cool. The doctor, the evil doctor in the institution, has been running a very corrupt joint here. He becomes a Cenobite himself. After doing all this research, he's the one who summons Julia back from the dead, and kind of gets freaky with her after he bandages her up, and she lures him into hell and turns him into a guy with weird snakes that comes out of his hands. Not like Scorpion, but weird snakes with little scissors and drills and stuff on them.
And he's carried around by a penis. So
yeah, it's kind of weird. It's a little dickhead on the top of him.
And you don't know where this thing, where is the base? That's the question.
Right, something is floating him around, but you never see it. It's always slightly off screen. It looks pretty cool though. The whole idea of it, and seeing him kind of being taken over and injected with all these things, and he turns blue. I thought it was great. And that thing that was cutting his face.
No shortage of gore in this one, which is always nice, because the first one had really good practical effects and makeup effects with Frank coming back from the dead and skin being torn, and we got that again. So it's nice that they were consistent.
And we also got to see all of the stuff from the first movie in this one. So I think it would be a rough double feature because they do take a little bit of time to explain the first one, but it's pretty consistent. And it's got some really fun moments because Kyle.
I'm Kyle McRae. Call me Kyle.
Kyle, the doctor's assistant, is pretty fun. He's also a doctor.
I'll get you close. I can do that. I'm a doctor.
I'm a doctor too.
Yes, I know.
When he's trying to figure out is this crazy? Is this girl crazy or what? What's going on with this doctor? He sneaks into the doctor's house and finds out that he's trying to do all this stuff. He's been studying the Cenobites. He's got all types of lament configurations. He's behind this curtain while the doctor is summoning Julia, and it's just oh my god. Imagine just standing behind a curtain and hearing all of this and seeing it. He's just
weird. Fucking weird.
He was so hilarious. Just the way that he talked, he would often repeat himself.
She had no skin. No skin.
And I just thought he was a great character. And of course, Kirsty's a great character because she is telling exactly what happened and nobody believes her, obviously. Because if anyone told me that, I also wouldn't believe them.
Are you crazy?
I don't know, Kyle. You're the fucking expert.
Look, in the end, she did the ultimate final thing. She wore the skin of her enemy, just like how Frank did when he was wearing her dad's skin, and she fooled the doctor and sacrificed her lips for Tiffany to solve the puzzle.
Sacrificed her lips? What do you mean?
She kissed him.
I thought she removed them and I missed that.
No,
because I wouldn't put it past this movie.
Yeah, I know, but think about it. She went in there and kissed this kissed a Cenobite.
I have faith in Tiffany's cube solving skills. It probably wasn't that long. She's very, very fast. And that's basically all she does. I gave up talking so I could solve puzzles all the time. She was a nice addition to like the roster as well because it's just a completely unique character. Doesn't talk, just solves puzzles. You don't really know what her backstory is.
Especially when like hell itself is a puzzle. So like she's like the best sidekick to have.
And I think they worked well, like especially like when the wind sucked Julie and left her skin there and they're like hanging out. And just them like running down the labyrinth and running back and trying to figure it out together. It's nice to have a little buddy duo.
I like that Frank came back into the picture too. That was like a nice twist where like because you're sitting here wondering why Kirsty would want to go back into hell and why she would want to be involved after this like traumatic experience. It was all because she thought that her dad was trapped in hell. So she wanted to like sacrifice and save him. And then it was just Frank, good old Uncle Frank, pulling a trick. And he had an interesting hell room.
His lair or whatever, like his part of hell was just girls under sheets moaning because he was sexually obsessed. Like this was his main desire, but he couldn't have sex with them because they would just like keep going back under these like rock tombs. So he was just completely teased for eternity.
Yeah.
And he just wanted to sleep with Kirsty, I guess, his niece.
I'd rather burn.
The first one was sexually driven because Julie is also a sex-crazed maniac. But this one, there's more sexy stuff in it. Or at least they toyed with the idea of more sexual stuff. But Julie kind of had to go through the same steps that Frank did. Like, all right, bring me bodies. I need skin.
She devoured more than Frank though.
Frank was just bones, and he needed like 3 to 4 people.
Yeah.
And Julie needed a whole bunch.
Which brings us to Kyle dying so early because like I didn't see that coming. That was like a like mind-blowing moment. He walks in the room and you're like, oh, you shouldn't go in there. Well, maybe he's gonna like push her down and run because like him and Kirsty have to like figure this out. No, he dies. He gets 4 fingers in the back of his head.
I really didn't see it coming, but it was a nice little shock. And the whole movie, much like you would expect, has just like a surreal feel to it. You never know what to expect, and that's part of the fun of it. Between either people dying or walls opening up, and it's like, oh, this is a labyrinth now, I guess. Or you're coming back to the hospital, and everybody's playing with their lament configurations, and they're all turning into Cenobites and shit. You're like, what is real and what isn't? And that's really cool. And they have a lot of great shots as well. Like, the cinematography is great. I thought, like, Tiffany walking towards the light with her hair blowing. I thought that was cool. There's like a lot of cool imagery that just makes sense for this movie. Now, what didn't we like?
Lack of Cenobites. They make their like flashback appearance. They talk a lot, but they don't really do anything outside of the doctor. So you would assume like there would be more of a showdown, but they just kind of sit there and be like, oh, you go roam around hell. We can't wait to see what your skin is like.
Feel free. Explore.
Yeah, you're right. They just kind of let them go free, which is so strange because Tiffany opens up the dimension. They come in. They're like, oh, we thought somebody else opened it. Maybe they went that way. All right, let's go back. So they just like come in, say hi, and then peace out again.
It's funny. A franchise that is heavily based around these characters, they're not really involved in the movie as much as you would think.
Having not watched them in so long, like this is one that I haven't seen since I was in high school. Like I watched 1 to 3, I think, and I haven't watched the rest, so I don't know how much more involved the Cenobites become, but when you hear people talk about Hellraiser, you read articles, you see it on Twitter, it's all about the Cenobites. They've got action figures, they've got posters, and there's just like all types of art that you'll see all over the place. I guess it's just because the creature design is cool, not necessarily because their characters are cool, because the characters really don't do anything.
Yeah, like, they're not the ones killing anyone, it's the chains that come from the wall.
Right.
Like,
you're right, so even when there is deaths around them, they're not doing them.
Yeah, they're there to just like observe and like point things out. Like if this was like a role-playing game, they're talking characters.
Yeah, they're just the NPCs. That's actually pretty true. I mean, lead Cenobite, Pinhead, he seems like he has more control because he might control the chains to some degree, with maybe with his mind. But I do wish that they did other things, because they all have unique characteristics about themselves, and it just feels like the Chatterer could do something, be more intimidating. Like in the first one, at least he like grabs Kirsty and does like a mandible claw, and like there's a little bit more physical nature to it. Where here they're not doing anything, and not even doing anything supernatural necessarily. They're just like standing around.
Yeah, and then when they like turn human, they still do nothing. They just accept their fate. And Chatterer is like a child.
Yeah, that was actually shocking. We were trying to figure out like, okay, Butterball makes sense.
Yeah.
Lady makes sense. Pinhead, we already saw him. But Chatterer as like a kid.
I know, we were like, dentist. This is a teeth thing. He's got to be a dentist. Nope, just a child.
Yeah, I need to know more. I hope that in the sequels we get even more backstory, and I assume so. I mean, there's like 6 other movies, I think.
The relationship between the Doctor and Julia, it was strange. It felt forced. Okay, I get, you're obsessed, you want all the answers, you want to like go to hell and learn the truth. But like, there was no reason for her to want to go back to hell. She was like, I'll guide you. And it's like, their bond was odd. Because like when Frank was doing it, it was like ulterior motives. Like, I want to be alive, and bang. So she comes back from hell and she's just like, bring me flesh. And like the Doctor didn't talk a lot. He was more like dumbfounded by everything.
Yeah, he just stood there with blood on his face for a long ass time. Right when it happened, like not even a gasp, not a, oh hey. So just thinking about it right now, because I wasn't thinking about this during the movie, perhaps just wanted to go back and get Frank. Perhaps it was a rescue mission. Like, go rescue him, then they can have sex. A sexu mission. Though she didn't seem that interested in Frank. She didn't really talk about him.
No.
Even though she would have been in hell with Frank.
It's a weird dynamic. I understand that we don't need like further development of the Doctor's character because we knew what his motives were, what his goal was, but like it just didn't feel natural. Even like when she like pushed him in, like, oh, I'm gonna offer you up instead of me. Like, what are you gonna do now?
She just wanted a new Cenobite. It's like, you don't run this joint. I know that she did say that she was feeding the god.
The god of flesh, hunger, and desire. My god. Leviathan.
Why isn't anyone else granted that?
Yeah, why wasn't Frank feeding the
Like,
gods?
Frank isn't allowed to come feed gods?
And like even the Cenobites, they were pissed that Frank escaped hell in the first one. This one, they didn't even bat an eye. They were like, whatever.
The whole first movie was them trying to track down Frank so they can kill him again and get his soul back. Yet here they're like,
Kirsty, come on in.
I guess they're just, well, the souls are already coming in. We don't need to track them down. Perhaps that's the logic, but they didn't even seem fazed by it.
No, they were just like, do what you want to do. We're just gonna stand in this room of chains.
Now it's time for our final thoughts and ratings. Well, this movie was a lot different than the first one because of the pacing. I did enjoy it almost as much. It had a lot more surreal stuff going on, and I wanted to see what Kirsty was gonna do. Right out the gate, you know that she wants to try and find her dad, and you hope that she succeeds because of what she's gone through in the past. I thought the set design and all the effects and the production of everything just looked great. And I like some of the characters and the backstories. Like, it really, a lot of why I liked it is because we got more information. And I can understand why there are so many Hellraiser movies, because there's a lot to go over. I do find it strange that like the Cenobites didn't really care that Kirsty was like hanging out in their place. Like, they didn't want to murder her, but it is what it is. It's hard to explain something that just seems unexplainable. So I'm gonna give this 4 sexy skeletons out of 5.
I enjoyed this film. I thought it was a really well done sequel to continue the story from where we left off with the first one. I liked that we explored more of the lore. I did, however, not really enjoy how the characters played out when it came to like Julia and the Doctor. There was a lot more of dumbfounded looks than people like giving dialogue. And that was for like everyone in the film.
Not just Tiffany.
But I did enjoy the pacing. I love the set design and all the effects were well done. So with that being said, I give this film 3 murder mattresses out of 5.
As always, thank you for watching. Like this video and comment below with your thoughts on the film if you've seen it. If you haven't and you do want to check it out, links are in the description. And if this is your first time here, make sure you subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with everything we're doing here on BTV.